Hello everyone, this is your friend and I am back with a new story part 1. The story title is What If Turles Invaded Earth Early? Gohan's Destiny Changed Forever Part 1. I hope you enjoy this fanfic, and if you enjoy this, so don't forget to subscribe my channel. Now let's start the story. Krillin sighed as he looked off into the distance. There was still no sign of Gohan. The bald former monk had planned to camp in the forest of Mount Pazu along with Bulma, Oolong and Gohan. But what was keeping Gohan? Had Chi-Chi changed her mind about allowing her son to join them? Oolong tried to get a fire going beneath an enormous pot. He leaned in too close as the flames ignited and promptly singed his nose. Krillin and Bulma burst into laughter at the sight of his soot-covered nose. At that very moment Gohan arrived. Hey. Sorry I'm late. What's that delicious smell? Gohan asked eagerly. It smells just like Mom's kitchen in the morning. The pig swallowed hard and turned ashen. Oolong muttered under his breath as he became the target for Bulma and Krillin's laughter once more. He decided to direct attention to the enormous backpack Gohan carried. What was your mother thinking when she sent you out with that thing? Oolong gasped as he pointed to the monstrous backpack. That is some backpack, Gohan, Bulma mused. Mom packed it for me, the son of Goku explained. That figures. Krillin sighed. Bulma, Krillin and Oolong held their sides as they laughed and teased a sheepish-looking Gohan about the contents of his oversized backpack. It seemed as if the half-Saiyan child would never stop pulling out items. Not only does he look like he's going on safari, but he brought everything with him but the kitchen sink. Oolong guffawed. Just how long did Chi-Chi think you were going to be out here? Bulma questioned as she tried not to snicker. You could keep an expedition fed with all that food, Krillin declared as Gohan pulled stacks of canned goods and even more items out of his backpack. A probe sent from Turles' ship crashed into the earth, causing an explosion. The spider-like craft scuttled away but left flames in its wake that rapidly spread to the forest where Bulma, Krillin, Oolong and Gohan were camping. Krillin awoke to the sound of terrified forest creatures and the smell of smoke. Stepping out of his tent, he saw that the forest was ablaze. He quickly roused the others. At Krillin's suggestion, he and Gohan set out to blow away the inferno using power blasts. Great trees began to fall to the ground. Gohan had to lift up a fallen tree to free a small purple dragon pinned beneath it. Soon the roaring fire was extinguished, but sheer devastation was left behind by the flames. The beautiful forest was reduced to nothing but scorched tree trunks. Helpless denizens of the forest milled about, unsure of what to do or where to go. All these poor animals have lost their home. We have to do something. Gohan exclaimed. I know. Bulma, you have the dragon radar. Let's use the dragon balls and wish back the forest. Krillin shouted. Yeah. Gohan agreed excitedly. The sky darkened and the great dragon Shenron appeared and promised to grant the group of friends a single wish. Gohan had to stop the small dragon he had rescued from attacking Shenron. The small creature wouldn't have stood a chance against the great dragon. In no time at all the forest was restored to its former beauty. With their campsite and supplies ruined, Bulma, Krillin, Oolong and Gohan decided to cancel their camping adventure. Turles' probe sent back information and visuals to his ship. The dark-skinned Saiyan stared at the screen in disbelief. Instead of a bare lifeless sphere, the planet Earth was a thing of beauty, and it was absolutely teeming with life. What became of you, Kakarot? Why didn't you complete your mission? Turles wondered. What are your orders, Master Turles? The huge orange-skinned being that piloted the Saiyan's ship questioned. It seems Kakarot has failed to carry out his duty to purge this world. This planet will be perfect to plant the seed of the Tree of Might. We'll harvest the fruit and the tree will fulfill Kakarot's mission. It's the least we can do since he left the planet for our use, Turles declared. The laughter of the two pirates echoed through the ship. Gohan sighed with disappointment. Not only had he lost the competition with his father over who could their breath the longest in their outdoor tub, But he'd had to endure a thorough scolding from his mother because the little purple dragon he rescued had followed him home. The sight of the creature had terrified Chi-Chi. His furious mother had demanded that Gohan take the beast back to the mountain. Turles stayed behind in his ship as the Crusher Corps team walked out on the Earth to plant the tree whose voracious roots sucked out the very life-giving energy of the unfortunate worlds it was planted upon. The pirate commander examined his charts to decide which hapless planet would be the next victim of the Tree of Might. Amand, the massive orange-skinned pirate, gave a great cry as he sent a powerful blast into the earth. The resulting explosion created a great chasm. An evil smile crossed the face of the long dark green-haired Days as he tossed a seed from the Tree of Might into the chasm. Each of the team expressed their hopes that the tree would sprout and quickly bear fruit. Gohan played with his new friend, Icarus the dragon, until Chi-Chi called him in for supper. As Yamcha bragged about his expensive hover car to Puar, he felt an ominous power. Suddenly the pair were knocked from the sky by the force of the explosion caused by Turles' second-in-command. The scar-faced former bandit could only groan in despair over his costly ruined hover car. Far away, Piccolo also noticed a power that brought a sense of pure evil. The seed from the Tree of Might sprouted almost immediately. Its monstrous roots tore through the forest, uprooting trees and frightening the animals. Even a nearby city suffered devastation as the roots continued their ravage of the planet. Soon the enormous tree stood high above the ruined forest. The other trees were left as nothing but lifeless husks. Soon the tree will bear fruit, Amon chuckled. After we eat the fruit, we'll be invincible. Raisin and Lacasse declared. The bulbous-headed Purple Beans brothers were delighted with the prospect of gaining power from the fruit once more. Days wholeheartedly agreed. Cocoa, the cyborg, added his assent. At the Sun home, Goku, Bulma, Oolong, Master Roshi and Gohan listened as Yamcha bemoaned his misfortune with his expensive hover car. Tien and Xiaosu were also rapt with attention to his tale of woe. Chi-Chi just shook her head as she served tea to each of their guests. Bulma leapt up from her seat in absolute fury. You bought that flashy car to catch the eye of some girl. Didn't you? No. Of course not. Yamcha protested. Did you even think before you bought that expensive contraption? Bulma screeched. Master Roshi was thoroughly enjoying the show. Tien and Chiaotzu merely gave each other knowing looks. Bulma and Yamcha's spats were legendary. There was a sudden tap on the window. Chi-Chi was livid when she saw the small purple dragon trying to get Gohan's attention. Didn't I tell you to get rid of that thing? Chi-Chi fumed. Actually, Chi-Chi. Goku began. I should have known. You two went behind my back. Get rid of him now, Gohan. Chi-Chi ordered. Gohan went out and shooed away the protesting little dragon away. Maybe something's wrong. He was acting kinda strange, Goku observed. Nonsense. He just wanted to play and distract Gohan from his studies, Chi-Chi insisted. A voice suddenly called out to Goku. King Kai, Go said in surprise. Goku, something horrible has happened to the planet Earth. A monstrous plant known as the Tree of Might has been planted on Earth. When it bears fruit, it will drain all the energy from the planet and reduce it to one huge lifeless desert. I'm afraid it's already too late for the Earth, King Kai sadly informed him. No, I can't just give up. Goku protested. Goku quickly explained the situation to those seated at the table. All of the Z fighters agreed that they would combine their powers to destroy the tree. Gohan tried to join them. You are staying right here, Gohan. Chi-Chi demanded. Gohan watched sadly as his father and friends went to blow away the tree. What good did it do to wish the forest back? Krillin groaned when he saw the forest's lifeless trees. As a group, Goku, Yamcha, Krillin, Tien and Chiaotzu fired their ki blasts at the tree. When the smoke cleared, they were stunned to discover there was no damage to the tree whatsoever. Harsh laughter rang out from the top of the T. Goku floated to the top of the tree followed by the others. You can't destroy the Tree of Might. Amon declared confidently. Get in our way and you'll end up dead. Diaz chuckled. Soon the battle was on. Kokoa quickly brought Yamcha to the ground and the combined form of the Beans brothers took down Chiaotzu. Tien stepped into his small friend's place. Krillin took on Amon and Daze chose to fight Goku. Gohan had gone to the cave to play with Icarus. The little purple dragon was nowhere to be found. Maybe he got mad at me for shooing him away, Gohan sighed. Suddenly Icarus was right before him. The dragon seemed frantic to show Gohan something. Gohan climbed on the little dragon's back. Show me what it is, boy. Gohan exclaimed. Gohan was taken to the site where the battle raged on between the Z fighters and the Crusher Corps. He leapt from Icarus's back to join in the fray. After bringing down Tien, the Beans brothers attacked Gohan. Turles watched Gohan on his ship's visual screen with great interest. Could it be? Yes. The brat is a Saiyan. The commander of the Crusher Corps face lit up with a cruel smile. He had plans for the boy. Gohan bravely defeated the Beans brothers, but he cringed with horror as he looked about. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien and even Chiaotzu were lying lifeless on the ground. No, this can't be happening. Gohan screeched in horror. Tears filling his eyes, the half-Saiyan backed into someone standing behind him. Dad? Gohan asked in confusion as he looked up at what seemed to be a mirror image of his father. But why would his father be wearing silver and black Saiyan armor? You're not my dad, the little demi-Saiyan exclaimed. I am Turles. You must be Kakarot's brat. Come with me. I can teach you to live as a true Saiyan. I'm not going anywhere with you. Gohan snarled. You don't really have a choice. Turles smirked as he snatched Gohan up. Gohan sighed with relief as Piccolo suddenly appeared. But his relief quickly turned to horror as Turles blasted the Namek. The demi-Saiyan gave a piteous cry as he realized Piccolo had also been slain. Let go of my Gohan. Goku roared. He had disposed of the Crusher Corps and he planned to rescue his son. Turles threw a power ball up into the sky and forced Gohan to stare at the shimmering ball of light. No, don't look, Gohan. Goku cried out. Poor Gohan was completely helpless as his eyes were held open against his will by the cruel pirate. His eyes grew red, fur sprouted. Gohan awoke feeling strange. He flushed with embarrassment as he realized he wasn't wearing a stitch of clothing. A strange garment and a set of Saiyan-like armor were thrown by his feet. Put those on and be quick about it. The imposing figure of Turles demanded. The son of Goku looked around frantically. Dad, where are you? Turles sighed. Ah, yes. You don't remember what happened after your transformation. What are you talking about? Gohan stammered. His eyes followed Turles's outstretched hand. He gasped in horror at the sight. An indistinguishable bloody mass lay on the ground, but there was no mistaking the blood-soaked orange GI with his father's insignia. So kind of you to get rid of your sire for us during your time as an Uzaru. He really was quite the pest. Turles said casually. No, I didn't. I wouldn't. Gohan choked. No. Turles smirked. Look under your feet, boy. The trembling youngster lifted up his left foot and blanched in absolute disgust. His foot was stained red with bits of sticky black spiky hair with chunks of flesh attached. His stomach threatened to heave. Tough break, kid, the wounded Diaz said. He was the only surviving member of the Crusher Corps. I'll give you a choice, brat. You can come with us or stay here and die. Turles announced. NNNOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO shared with Goku, "I'll bet that dragon's back and he's trying to eat Gohan." "Ah, come on, Chi-Chi." Goku sighed. They both hurried to Gohan's room. He was sitting up in his bed, tears rolling down his little face. "Oh, my poor baby," Chi-Chi exclaimed. "Looks like someone had a bad dream." Goku mused. "You're alive. Turles didn't win." Goku hugged his son tightly. "Turles will never hurt anyone again, Gohan." Gohan stretched and smiled as he chased the sleep from his eyes. What a nightmare he had endured. He lazily sniffed the air for the scent of his mother's cooking and his face froze in horror as he realized he wasn't in his room at home. Stars whizzed by in a small window on the far wall. The scowling figure of Days appeared in the room. It's about time you got up. Better get moving. The commander won't appreciate you sleeping in. A tear ran down Gohan's face as he realized that the nightmare had been reality. He had only dreamt about his parents still being alive. But Gohan's nightmare was only beginning. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter of Turles' Triumph. Reviews would be greatly appreciated. Daughter of Rising Sun. Gohan pulled himself out of the crude bunk and fought to quell the wave of nausea that threatened as his tortured mind rehashed the events of the night before. Days threw a deep blue-colored garment to him. Step out into the hall. There a shower in the first room on the right. When you are finished getting cleaned up, put on the armor you were given and report to the front of the ship. Understood. Yes, sir. Gohan choked out. Days smirked at his reply and almost turned to leave. He faced the son of Goku and spoke again. When it comes to Turles, don't speak unless you are spoken to. You will address him as Master Turles or Commander Turles. The least you may address him by will be Commander. Got it, kid? Yes, sir. Gohan affirmed. Good. Now hurry up, brat. We'll be landing soon, Days informed him as he left the room. Landing. The little half-Saiyan felt his stomach clench at the thought. Where were they taking him? It wasn't back to his home, that was for sure. His home no longer existed. Gohan stepped into a large metallic room with what appeared to be several showerheads on the wall to his left. On the right was a seating area and a waste disposal unit. A stack of rather plush-looking towels lay on a shelf just a few feet from the shower. It didn't take more than a moment to figure out the simple controls for turning on the water and regulating the temperature. Gohan allowed for a brief shedding of tears for his lost home and family as the warm water cascaded from his hair. Reaching for a drying cloth, he dried himself and dressed quickly. Days sighed at the silence of the ship's main room. Amon's low-timbered voice no longer gave reports to Turles at hourly intervals. The former Kabochan prince stared at the empty seats left behind by his fallen comrades. Lacasse and Raisin's noisy arguments had annoyed him, but he would actually be glad to hear the Beans brothers' noisy tirade instead of the empty silence. I suppose our guest is preparing for the landing on Daznakos. Turles' voice questioned. Yes, Master Turles, Days answered. With a curt nod, Turles turned back to the charts he was observing. Gohan nervously entered the room, wondering what was going to be expected of him. Just then the ship gave a sudden lurch, and though unfamiliar with the craft, the youngster knew the ship had landed. Come here, brat, Turles ordered. Why yes, Master Turles. Turles chuckled at the boy's reply. He was obviously frightened, but the brat did address him with the proper respect. I have business to attend to on planet Daznakos. You will go with Days and obey his orders. I will only warn you once not to attempt to escape. I'll not tolerate disobedience, and you won't survive the punishment for the attempt. Is that understood? The pirate commander demanded. Yes, Commander Turles, was his answer. Good. Don't snivel, boy. You're a Saiyan, remember that, Turles advised. Days, take the brat and get him 2 more sets of armor, some proper fitting clothing, and, the dark-skinned Saiyan began. His instructions were interrupted by a loud growl from Gohan's stomach as it protested the lack of nourishment since the night before. Gohan's face flushed red with embarrassment as Days snickered. And do get the brat something to eat, Turles added with a smirk as he walked to the entrance of the ship and left the two alone. You heard the commander. Let's get going, kid. Diaz sighed. Gohan stared at the bustling crowds at the Zadeskin market on planet Daznakos. He'd never seen so many people in one place. We'll stop here first, kid. Days announced as they approached a beautiful building made of brilliantly polished Alaska wood. A blue-tiled roof accented the deep red of the wooden structure. It was a restaurant of some sort, the half-Saiyan realized. Delicious scents wafted through the air, causing a noisy reaction from Gohan's empty stomach. The Crusher Corps member ignored the boy's complaining belly as he opened the heavy brass door and stepped into the establishment. Gohan gasped at the sheer elegance of the place. A luxurious royal blue carpet accented the pale pink marble that composed the floor. Cushioned chairs of rare wood sat at tables carved from single Ganis trees. Pristine white cloths covered the tables that were set with golden utensils and crimson plates emblazoned with a gold dragon design. The few times Chi-Chi allowed an outing to a restaurant, they were cheaply priced fast food joints as she simply couldn't afford the appetites of two Saiyan males anywhere else. He felt guilty about even considering eating after the hellish events of the night before, but hunger was quickly winning over guilt. A red-skinned reptile in a royal blue robe quickly escorted the unlikely pair to one of the exquisitely appointed tables. Gohan was too busy gawking at the place to pay attention to what Days ordered. The son of Goku's jaw dropped as a cart laden with food was wheeled to their table. There were plates piled high with roasted meats, great bowls of rice dishes, succulent fruits and savory vegetables, and sweet cakes were stacked on several large platters. The former Kabochan prince chuckled as he noticed that the youngster's mouth began to water as he stared in amazement at the smorgasbord before him. "Well, let's eat, brat," Diaz urged. Gohan didn't have to be told twice. Gohan had several bags of what Diaz considered proper clothing slung across his shoulder. The dark green-haired pirate was examining a pair of boots when a purple rodent-like creature walked up to them. "Those are made of Talisium lizard hide. Dreadfully expensive. I'm sure you will want to go elsewhere to afford," the rodent being started. Days seized the haughty life form by its throat. "I can afford to buy this dump and toss you out of it." "Thousand pardons, sir. I meant no offense." The rodent whined. "Get two pair that will fit the boy. Now," the furious black and green armored warrior demanded. The little half-blood couldn't help but giggle as the terrified merchant hastened to obey. "Gotta keep those snobs in line," Days growled. Days and Gohan soon ran into Turles, who was making several purchases of his own. Gohan sighed. If it hadn't been for the horrible night before, this outing would almost be considered fun. He noticed a thick red book lying on a shelf in the shop where Turles was currently walking about. When he picked up the book and leafed through it, stories of hundreds of planets filled the table of contents. The volume's cover was rich crimson leather with gilt pages and lavish illustrations. "You make a habit of reading, brat." Turles's voice rang out, startling the boy. "Yes, Master Turles. My mother made sure I read every day for my studies, but I'll like reading too." Gohan fought to keep his voice from trembling. Gohan sighed as the Saiyan snatched the book away from him and walked away. He guessed that Turles didn't want him to be reading. "Let's go, brat," Days called out. No sooner had they stepped out of the shop than a slim, attractive female rushed up to Turles, who was just behind them. "How long have you been here? You weren't going to leave without stopping by, were you?" A young raven-tressed, pale-complexioned female huffed. She wore her long hair piled on top of her head in an almost sheer green gown that stopped at her knees. "I might have considered it, Curlies," Turles teased. "You're horrible," the female complained. Her green eyes showed annoyance. "That's not what you said the last night I was here," the Saiyan male taunted. Curlies noticed the young boy that stood next. Days. "Oh, he's adorable." Quote. The woman ruffled Gohan's hair and then turned to the Saiyan male with her eyes blazing. "All right. Who is she? Who are you going on about?" Turles smirked. "His mother. I know he's yours, look at that tail." Curlies screeched. The pirate commander burst into laughter. "Calm down, Curlies. We picked the boy up on the way here. I have no brats and you should be well aware of that." Curlies suddenly appeared apologetic as she wrapped her arms around the Saiyan's muscular shoulders. "Sorry, I couldn't help but be jealous if some other woman was to catch your eye. You will come see me before you leave. I suppose I could squeeze you in somewhere in my busy schedule," the dark-skinned Saiyan sighed. "Later," Curlies said brightly, and she blew a kiss to the Saiyan as she left. Turles merely rolled his eyes. What happens when she finds out about Tazanora, Commander? Days snickered. Don't forget Angelus. The Saiyan male smirked. I imagine things will be quite interesting around here if they find out about each other. Days and Turles walked away expressing their amusement at the situation, leaving a confused Gohan to follow after them. Gohan sat in absolute awe of the place Turles chose for them to consume their noon meal. The place where he and Days had dined paled by comparison. Sheets of mother of pearl composed the walls and gold tiles made in the pattern of a scallop shell covered the floor. At intervals in the walls, there was a display of great tanks holding fantastic denizens of ocean creatures from several planets. The table and chairs they sat in were made of pure glistening crystal. A silk sea foam colored tablecloth covered the table set with beautiful plates decorated with engraved sea creatures and finely wrought silver utensils. Turles ordered for Gohan, and the 6-year-old dug into his meal with gusto. The crispy golden fish and assorted seafood on his plate was pure heaven to his palate. A delectable fruit juice of some sort filled the glass next to his plate. Turles did not allow him to have any of the wine that the two pirates were having no trouble consuming by the bottle. Turles left his seat for a moment to speak with someone at another table. Gohan chose that moment to question Days. Do you always eat like this, sir? He quickly added. Days laughed softly. Call me Days, brat. And yes, when you're in Turles's company only the finest food and wine will do. Gohan sat silently aboard Turles's ship, wishing he had something to do besides relive his horrible memories. To his utter amazement, Turles walked over and dropped the book he had admired in the shop earlier that day next to him. The startled boy jumped as the book struck the floor. Pay more attention to your surroundings, brat. Turles snapped. Turles turned his own attention to Days. Days, it will be quite late when I return. A little schedule planning is in order, the Saiyan announced with a leer. Days snickered. Yes, Master Turles. I don't expect you awake when I return, brat, the pirate commander advised. Yes, Master Turles. Gohan spoke up quickly. Days turned to Gohan when Turles departed and pointed to the book in the half-Saiyan's hands. You've certainly made an impression, brat. What do you mean, Days? Gohan asked. Turles must see something in you. He wouldn't have bought that book without a purpose for it, the green-haired pirate mused. Maybe he was just being nice, Gohan suggested hopefully. That caused a roar of laughter from Days. Turles being nice. That's rich. Kid. Days heard a soft sobbing and sighed as he realized it must be the brat. All the excitement of the day must have kept his mind from dwelling on his horrible loss. Gohan tried to choke back his sobs as Days appeared in the room he had been assigned to. The former Kabochan prince looked down at the miserable child. It seemed as if there was just a flicker of pity in the space pirate's eyes. You'd best be quiet when Master Turles returns. But for now, get it out. All that grief and sorrow you've got buried inside. Cry and scream all you want. I'll be in the shower so I won't hear you. And after you can't shed another tear. You put it behind you and move on. Do what you have to survive, Days advised. I know what it's like to be the only survivor of your home planet. Days, why are you with Turles? Gohan asked. That's a long story, brat. Days muttered. I'm not going anywhere. The little half-Saiyan sighed. Days sat at the foot of the bed. He could just imagine the reactions from his former crewmates if they saw him now. The fierce Days telling a story. To a Saiyan brat, he could almost hear the laughter ringing in his ears. Kabocha was once a desert planet of fierce warriors. Days sighed as he thought about a world that hadn't entered his thoughts for years. The desert world of Kabocha, his homeworld. A place where he had never truly belonged. But he had promised the little half-Saiyan that he would tell him of how he ended up serving Turles. The former prince of Kabocha always kept his word. Well, brat, Kabocha was once the home of fierce desert warriors. The warrior kings of Kabocha were known throughout the galaxy as worthy adversaries, but times changed and many of the old traditions were no longer kept. Training for war was no longer seen as necessary. Years of peacetime made the future kings lazy and unwilling to be forged into the living weapons their ancestors once were. Prince Days. Prince Days. Your Highness, please stop ignoring me. I know you can hear me. Your father wishes to see you immediately. The elderly servant called out. He was addressing a young dark green-haired youth whose hair was styled in the tradition of male Kabocha royalty. Close cropped on the top and a long ponytail in the back. The silver earrings that brushed his shoulders also identified him as a prince. He wore a short tan leather tunic and black knee-high boots. Prince Days scowled as he stopped sparring with another young man. Are you sure he wishes to see me, Cassius? Can he actually spend a moment with me and not my dear brother? The wizened old servant tugged at his shaggy white beard and sighed. I'm well aware of the favor your father has for your brother, your highness. But he is calling for you and his time grows short. Do make your peace with him while you can. ... Prince Days walked into the richly appointed bedroom of his father, King Arnes. The walls were decorated with thousands of tiny tiles that made colorful mosaics illustrating past Kabochan royalty. Heavy drapes of crimson velvet kept out the blazing sun of the desert planet. Polished gray and cream marble composed the floors that were accented with rare Holocene carpets. The frail body of the aged king lay in a great golden bed. A crimson spread was tucked around him up to his chin. An exasperated sigh came from the monarch as he took in the sight of his youngest son. Just look at you. You're a prince of Kabocha, a member of the legendary Pukenpa dynasty. But you're reeking of sweat and dressed as a common soldier. And where is your crown? I was told to come immediately, father. I wasn't aware that I was to be perfumed and in royal garb, Diaz huffed. Insolent pup. You will speak to me with respect. I'm still king of Kabocha. His sire growled. See, father, I am the proper choice to rule in your stead, whined a high-pitched male voice. The voice belonged to Prince Gazais, older brother to Days at least on his father's side. Days was tall and muscular while Gazais was short-statured and beginning to put some considerable girth around his waistline. The elder prince wore resplendent robes of crimson and gold. A heavy gold crown encrusted with rubies designated him as the crown prince. Father, Days has no sense of royal bearing and protocol. He spends all his time hunting or brawling with commoners. We'd be the laughingstock of the 3 sectors if he were to assume the throne, Gazais sniffed. Have you forgotten the warrior kings of Kabocha? It would do you some good to get a workout in now and then. Perhaps you'd even be able to see your toes once more. Days snorted. Don't you forget that your brother is the future king. You will address him with the proper respect, King Arnes declared. The aged ruler shook his head as he looked over his 2 sons. Both wore their dark green hair in the tradition of young Kabochan royals and had the light skin typical of their race. But the similarities ended there. Prince Gazais was 3 feet shorter than his younger sibling and not nearly as powerfully built. The elder prince preferred activities in the royal court rather than hunting or anything to do with his planet's military force. And why should he be concerned with the army? Kabocha had enjoyed a reign of peace for some 60 years now. They had made no enemies. There was no reason to expect things to change. Prince Days was tall, well-muscled and strong. His mother had been Queen Armala, once a warrior princess of planet Targia. No doubt, Days had inherited his mother's fighting spirit. The young queen had been killed in a hunting accident when Days was still but a child. King Arnes had thought her deserving of her fate for going after a Noza bear but did not reveal his thoughts to the grieving 3-year-old prince. Gazais had not gotten along well with Days' mother. She was the complete opposite of his mother. Queen Narquisha was the epitome of royal grace and elegance. She wouldn't have so much as dared to dream of sparring or hunting. A strange virus had taken the life of the queen when Gazais was 5 years of age. As much as the king hated to admit it, his favored son could stand to push himself away from the royal table a bit. One couldn't miss the obvious bulge in Gazais' middle and his chin was beginning to sag. Young women adored Days but openly showed their distaste for the elder prince. Gazais, my son. Upon assuming the throne, You must immediately begin the search for a suitable queen. There must be an heir as soon as possible to be sure the royal line is continued in case the unthinkable should occur. King Asner began to instruct his chosen heir. The unthinkable, father. The crown prince interrupted. Yes, in case you just fall over dead one morning or your food is poisoned. Maybe the nobles will stage a coup or an assassin will slip into your room late one night, Days suggested with a smirk. Poison. Assassins. Gazais choked in horror. Days. Don't taunt your brother so. The Kabochan monarch scolded. Sadly, your brother is partially correct, Gazais. Unfortunate events do occur, so you must have an heir and you must also father at least one more child in the event the first does not survive for whatever reason, Asner warned. As if one brat wasn't bad enough. The elder Price groaned. You'll have more responsibilities than throwing celebrations and having the kitchen staff keeping your plate filled. And by the way, my condolences to the bride, whoever the poor girl turns out to be. Days snickered. That is enough, Days. The king barked. You're just jealous. I will be king. Gazais snapped. I don't care. I just feel pity for our people when you rule over them, the youngest prince of Kabocha declared. He will also rule over you, Days. It's best not to make an enemy of your own brother, King Asner advised. Father, I truly wonder what my fate is to be once you are gone. My brother has never cared a whit for me and it wouldn't be a surprise if he chose to dispose of me, the warrior prince said flatly. You dare to question the honor of the crown prince? You've spent too much time with common soldiers. Gazais growled. That is a most serious accusation, Days. I am ashamed that you believe that your brother would be capable of such a heinous act, the king sighed. You are blind where Gazais is concerned, father. You always have been, Days said softly. Nonsense. The Kabochan king insisted. Certainly, the two young princes were never close, but the king couldn't fathom the idea of his eldest harming his younger sibling in any way. A ragged breath came from the frail monarch. Days dropped to his knees beside the bed and seized his father's left hand. Gazais hesitated for a moment and then took the king's right hand, but he did not kneel. Kneel to your king. Days snarled. The crown prince bristled at the command but knelt at his sire's side. One more breath rasped through the aged king. Then King Asner of Kabocha was no more. Prince Days sighed as he slowly walked away from his father's grave. It was still hard to believe that a full day had gone by since his father's passing. The crown prince had wasted no time declaring his coronation before the mourning period was even over for the deceased monarch. Days had no wish to see his father's crown on his brother's head, but he would have to face him sooner or later, so he might as well get it over with. King Gazais sighed with pleasure as he leaned back into the throne made of a single gigantic ruby. He was king at last. The former prince had actually worried how much longer his late father was going to survive. He wanted the throne while he was still young enough to enjoy it. The new monarch curled his lip up in disgust as he caught sight of his younger brother approaching him. He had to decide what to do with his annoying sibling. A cruel smile crossed his face as a solution suddenly came to mind. You couldn't wait for the mourning period, Gazais. Were you so eager to take over father's position as king? The young prince spat angrily. I merely assumed my royal duties to protect my kingdom. Guards, you will seize Prince Days immediately. Gazais ordered. What? Days demanded. The palace guards stepped forward and grabbed Diaz around his wrists, forcing them behind his back. They were quite aware of the warrior prince's fighting skill but also knew they were bound by law to obey the new king. What are you doing, Gazais? Days demanded. That's King Gazaiz. The former prince shouted. A smirk crossed the new monarch's face. Prince Days, you are hereby condemned of treason against your king. I clearly heard you threatened to have me poisoned, attacked by assassins or overthrown by my own royal court. I did no such thing. Prince Days roared. King Gazais continued. Since you are a prince of Kabocha, you will not be sentenced to death. You will be contained in the royal dungeon for the remainder of your existence. I warned father that you'd do something like this. Days snarled. Did you really think that the old fool would listen to any talk against me? Gazais taunted. Days moved in a blur of speed, quickly freeing himself from the guard's grasp. Don't let him escape. The newly crowned king of Kabocha bellowed. It was child's play for the well-trained prince to fight his way out of the palace. He flew towards the Kabochan mountains. He'd be safe there until he decided what to do next. Days had only managed a few hours of fitful sleep in the cave he'd found when something seemed to shake the very mountains themselves. There was a loud roar and the earth shook once more under his feet. Stepping out of the cave and looking towards the city his father once ruled, the young prince gasped in horror. Smoke billowed to the sky and flames were rapidly consuming the great wall surrounding the city. Days took to the sky. He gave no thought to being in danger himself. His people needed him. Days landed just outside the palace. Citizens of the city were screaming and running in all directions. They were trying to escape the strange beings that had landed on their planet. The newcomers had attacked as soon as they touched down on Kabocha's surface. Rushing into the throne room, the young prince saw his elder brother huddled into a quivering mass as he sat upon his throne. Days shook his head in absolute disgust. Call out the army. It's your place as king to command them. Days urged the shivering monarch. I'm not going out there. Gazais screeched. I know. I'll go to the treasury. I'll be safe there. The so-called king of Kabocha hurried from the throne room as fast as his legs would carry him. He was completely oblivious to the destruction and mayhem going on outside the palace. Days ran back outside the palace. He saw a face he recognized and called out, Commander Quanos. We need to mobilize the army immediately. The grizzled commander looked at the young prince with disdain. Only the king can give that order. Your king is hiding like a coward. I am the prince of Kabocha and I demand that you rally the army. Days barked. I don't have to accept your commands, prince. Commander Quanos scoffed as he simply walked away. The prince couldn't believe this was happening. Kabocha was going to be taken by invaders and no one cared. A small squad of soldiers suddenly appeared. They were fighting off a group of reptilian beings in blue and silver armor. Days smiled as he recognized the Kabochan warriors and he quickly joined the fray. In no time at all, the reptiles were defeated and their bodies lay scattered about. Days addressed one of the Kabochans, Melias, what's going on here? The young soldier bowed to the prince before speaking, Your Highness, several ships landed and the strangest creatures came out of them. They began attacking everyone in sight and gave no reason for doing so. Commander Quanos refused to sound the alarm without the king's order even though we begged him to do so. Our dear king is hiding in the treasury. Days spat angrily. Days looked at the young men that stood with him. There was Melias, a strong Kabochan that he had the pleasure of sparring with many times. Anar the archer. He was capable of firing a half-dozen laser arrows at a time. Kahia, a skilled martial artist that could wield his ki in the shape of a blade. And finally, Paris, a skilled fighter in any medium. Men, we are all there is to defend Kabocha. Will you stand with me? Days asked. Aye. The warriors all spoke as one man. Prince Days, with all due respect. You do know we don't have a prayer against them, Melias declared. Perhaps not. But we must try. If we fail, we die like men with honor, the young prince insisted. The warriors heartily agreed and the small team began their unlikely defense against the horde of invading lifeforms. Meanwhile, Gazais lay huddled under a golden table in the royal Kabochan treasury. He gasped as he heard the heavy doors forced open. Beings such as he had never seen the like of were seizing the priceless treasures and carrying them away. King Gazais was outraged. How dare these monsters help themselves to his inheritance? You put that back, immediately. Gazais demanded imperiously as he crawled out from his hiding place. The three blue-skinned elephantine creatures ignored his command and continued to pilfer the treasury. I am King Gazais. You will obey my command. The Kabochan monarch ordered. They are under my command, Your Majesty, a cold voice declared. The Kabochan ruler felt his blood turn to ice as the speaker came into view. It was a tall, dark-skinned being in black and silver armor with short, spiky black hair and a furry brown tail was wrapped around his waist. Gazais knew he was looking into the soulless onyx eyes of a Saiyan. Is this all there is? I'm quite disappointed. These few baubles are hardly worth wasting my time coming here, the Saiyan mused. See here, you arrogant. A red-skinned fish being in blue and black armor rushed up to the Saiyan. Master Turles, all but the west gate is under our control. It seems a small force of Kabochans have rallied there to defend it. Turles. The Kabochan monarch blanched with horror as he recognized that name. I'll be there shortly after I decide what to do with this one, Turles smirked. Gazais swallowed hard. His fate was sealed. The notorious Turles, pirate scourge of the galaxy, was known for his extreme cruelty. The king backed away. Why, you're really Turles? Yes. I see my reputation precedes me. Sadly yours. As unwarranted, I don't see a warrior king, just an annoying overfed toad. Turles snarled. A key blast obliterated the hapless king before he could even scream. Days stood over the bodies of his fallen comrades. He would fight until he took his last breath. It probably wouldn't be long in coming as another wave of the alien invaders surged forth. Turles watched as the young Kabochan warrior fought against his men. The odds were clearly stacked against him, but the lone soldier fought on. A genuine smile crossed the Saiyan's face. So valiant a fighter deserved to live. Enough. Turles commanded. His men stopped fighting and turned to him as they awaited his orders. The badly wounded Kabocha prince fought to stay on his feet as he observed the obvious leader of the force that attacked his home world. Who are you? Turles called out. I am Days, Prince of Kabocha. Turles smirked. I came looking for a warrior king, but instead I find a prince that is more than worthy of that title. I wish to spare your life. I could use someone with your courage and skills. Days looked at the invading force's commander. He was a Saiyan, to be sure. Saiyans didn't make a practice of handing out praise. He must have truly impressed the dark-skinned Saiyan male. The prince then turned his eyes downward to his fallen comrades. They were the only ones that he had mattered to outside of his mother. If he gave up his life, his race would end with him. Would they think him a coward if he chose to live? He had served a father he could never please, fought for an ungrateful people that worshipped his brother. It was time for him to actually live. If you want me to go with you, I must ask for these 4 brave souls to have a decent burial first, Diaz insisted. Done. I would expect no less of you, Turles affirmed. Wow, was all Gohan could say. Now you'd best get to sleep before the commander gets back, Days warned. Thanks for the story, Days. The little half-Saiyan yawned as he crawled onto his bunk. Good night, brat, Days said as he walked out of the room. The former prince peeked into Gohan's room. Gohan was fast asleep, a half-smile on his innocent face. Days sighed. The boy wouldn't be innocent for long, as Turles would soon force him into pirating. Gohan stepped into his new boots and walked about in amazement. He'd never felt anything so soft and comfortable. Days wondered why the boy kept looking at his boots. Do the boots not fit, kid? Oh, they fit just fine. I've never had boots that felt this good. Gohan chortled. I've told you, when you're with Turles, only the best of everything will do. Now get out here before the commander comes for you. Days warned. Gohan flew to his morning assignment. The son of Goku closed the thick crimson book he was reading with a sigh. He'd finished reading the book and he watched the stars and planets whiz by as Turles had them going to Kami only knew where. No way. Are you really finished readin' that book, brat? Days asked with a look of surprise. Yes, sir, Gohan affirmed. I suppose you'll need something to do, brat, Turles announced as he rose from his seat. The dark-skinned Saiyan dropped a pair of filthy black boots next to Gohan. Clean and polish those. Yes, Master Turles. Gohan spoke up quickly. He took the container of what seemed to be polish and went to clean the dirt off the boots first. Days wondered if the 6-year-old even knew how to polish boots. Gohan grinned to himself. His mother was always worried about his personal appearance the few times he ventured away from home. Clean polished shoes were a must. Turles snatched a boot away from Gohan when he brought them back. Dais's jaw dropped. Turles raised an eyebrow in surprise at the youngster's work. The Saiyan pirate could see his reflection in the brilliantly polished leather. Excellent work. Setting the boots down, the commander ordered the boy to follow him. Surely he's not going to punish him, the kid did a heck of a job. Dais thought to himself. Turles opened a door and gestured for Gohan to step inside the room. One look at the magnificent bed it contained and Gohan knew they were in the Saiyan's personal quarters. A wall shelf held a great stack of books. The infamous pirate pointed to the shelf. When you have no duties to perform, you are welcome to come here and get any book you choose to read. I will trust that nothing else in this room will be disturbed. If you violate my trust, not only will you never see another of these books but you will be most severely punished. Understood, brat? Turles demanded. Yes, Commander. Gohan agreed. The 6-year-old chose a thick green book. A half-smile lit Turles's face. Legends of the Saiyan Race was the book chosen by the boy. Dais scratched his head as Turles returned to his seat and the boy engrossed himself in another huge book. Planet Arshith will be the next world to be planted with the Tree of Might, the Saiyan male announced. I'll get the seed ready, Master Turles, he dark green-haired pirate affirmed. Oh, Dais. You won't be planting the seed, the brat will. So what did you think? Please let me know.